every serious wrestler should want to be working on their mindset. You know, we all know how to lift weights. We lift to get better at wrestling, and we lift consistently. And you know, the mental game of it, you know, it's not always addressed. And sometimes you feel like it could be this like a weakness to have to work on your mindset, but it's really not, man. It could be the missing piece.
And welcome back to Wrestling Mindset. Today we're here with the great Kendall Cross. Kendall, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Awesome. Yeah, so let's talk about, so we get a big event coming up pretty soon, next week.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, our folk style for all folk style clinic. Is that what you're talking about? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're on Saturday, the 18th, October 18th, from 10 to 2 at the Edge, Hoboken. We'd love to have some of you guys come out and join us.
Absolutely. What does it look like? What the schedule? Who's going to be showing moves? What's going on?
Well, I'll be showing moves on the first session from 10 to 11:30, and then our second session we're gonna have some Columbia wrestlers working some top bottom. I'm gonna spend my my energy in the first session on working neutral with, you know, ties, setups to shots, reshots, down block reshots, and a little bit of defense. And then I'm gonna have our Columbia guys go over some top bottom stuff, you know, some rides, and then also getting out of bottom. You know, I think getting out of bottom is a pretty big, very important area, especially as you go from high school to college. That is probably, you know, one of the biggest areas that of transition that these kids coming out of high school have to make, you know. So
yeah, no, it's important. Can't be getting road. And it's awesome. We'll be there, Wrestling Mindset, speaking during lunch.
Yes.
And New Regional Training Center, Hoboken, New Jersey.
Right. Yeah. We will break at 11:30, and from 11:30 to 12:30, we will have you guys. Is it both going to be you and Jeff?
Probably. We're just me. We'll see. Yeah.
All right. Great. Yeah. So it should be fun, man. Great day.
Absolutely. So we talk a lot about mindset. So I guess first thing to jump into is really your mindset when you were competing. I mean, obviously going all the way through the ranks right up to being the very best in the world, Olympic champ. So I talk about how your mindset grew and developed over time, and maybe what you did to work on your mindset.
You know, I would say that you know, just overall, I had a pretty a positive outlook on my own self. I think that was, I would say, just, you know, my knee-jerk answer to that question is, man, I was just very almost optimistic to a fault, you know. And so but that wasn't always that way, you know. I think it's easy to get into a rut where you feel like you can't do anything. And so I had periods of time where, you know, I had a lot of self-doubt, but I think it's just in general, I would say that my overall outlook on how I was going to do was very optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, the things that I think about is watching the Flow Wrestling, that Terry series, and it seemed like, you know, you thought things through. You had a plan. It wasn't just grind, that's great too. There's always an aspect of working hard and crushing it, which you did as well. But also taking some time and thinking, hey, what am I doing and why am I doing it? Talk about that.
Yeah, well, I like to consider myself a little more of a cerebral wrestler because, you know, at the end of the day, I'm you know, I will admit that, you know, I'm not this crazy athlete. You know, I wasn't terribly fast, I'm not terribly strong, and you know, if you watched me wrestle, you would see that, you know. And so, man, I had to delve into other areas to win, you know. And so I believe that my strong suit was being able to break down an opponent and understand what I'm up against. You know, I also understood myself very well, you know, and I think that's where it starts, is like understanding what your capabilities are. And so I had a really good understanding of that. And then, yeah, I built a plan, you know, at the highest level, you know, when it came to making Olympic teams. I had a plan for each opponent.
Yeah, and not just plowing forward. And part that I think about is saying like, be careful not to run back to the middle if you're not ready. You said you had a coach that would tell you that, and that was something that we were always taught that growing up. Hey, you run back to the
Yeah.
middle. And then after you made that point, when I listened to it, I said, that's right. There were times where I ran back, not out of motivation, but sometimes out of frustration, and I wasn't mentally ready to go back.
Yeah, yes, yeah, that's part of it. It's kind of like, part of the game is your emotional intelligence around what's going on. And you've probably had an experience, or I had an experience where I did hustle back out because we're taught that, like in youth baseball, like men don't cry kind of thing, and just we were taught not to show any kind of weakness, and so to take that and understand it, what it can do, I used it to my advantage. If I wasn't ready to go out and strap it back up with a guy, I'm going to take my time, and it might just be a long walk back to the center, or it could be adjusting my knee pad, or tying my shoe, or those kinds of things.
Right, and we're not talking about like blatantly stalling, but the point is, you do sometimes you need to take some time to think. Like, that's part of the sport. That's not wrong. This is what the best athletes do. You have to think about what you're doing out there. It can't just be go 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 go.
Yeah, well, a great example of it is Jordan Burroughs' famous sock pull. It's just a moment, but it gives them a time to think. It gives them time to go, okay, what's a festive situation? Maybe you're down by one, down by two, whatever the situation is, and then what is your plan for dealing with it?
From now until Fargo, our partners, Champion Athlete Wrestler Nutrition, the premier weight management program for wrestlers, will be offering a special Fargo nutrition program for only $350. That's $160 saving. Visit their website, champion-athletes.com, or call 800-324-1447 today. Yeah, and then I would also think, because it's the same movement all the time, the movement eventually gets associated with a thought or a feeling. So you like recenter, basically you kind of get back to baseline, regardless, whatever's going on. You go to that sock bowl, probably you get a flood of emotion or thoughts, that moment that just kind of encapsulates a feeling. And now, boom, I'm reset. Like, the
Yes.
importance of reset yourself.
Yeah, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Any kind of adversity, like how you handle adversity, it can go, one of two ways, and so to be able to take time and to just evaluate what's going on, I think it's very helpful.
Yeah, who were some of your biggest influences throughout your career?
Geez, man. At different times, I had different influences. I'll say, early on, when I was a kid, when I say kid, when I started falling in love with the sport, I was probably 11, 12, 13 years old. So I'll call that my years as a kid. That was when I really started to focus on my wrestling, and any time before that, I think it was just, man, I was just having fun, but up to that point, Dave and Mark Schultz were both at the University of Oklahoma, and there was another gentleman, another wrestler at Oklahoma, University of Oklahoma, named Johnny Johnson, and so having exposure to these guys always, like, consistently came to my club practices. I wrestled for a club called the Oklahoma City Athletic Club in Oklahoma City, and the University of Oklahoma wrestlers frequented our practices a lot. Like our coach was hiring these guys up to run sessions, and so and then Johnny Johnson ended up coaching our club through a couple of summers, and so I would say that those were my first real big influences on what I wanted to do or how I wanted to wrestle, and the success that I wanted to have with, 1984, I'm 16 years old, and I see Dave and Mark Schultz both win the Olympics, and these guys had been in my practice room, worked with us, put their hands on me. I would say that was my biggest influence. But then as time went on, I went to Oklahoma State, didn't go to OU. Actually, it was big decision there because I loved OU. But going to Oklahoma State, I leaned on John Smith and Kenny Monday. John and Kenny were both teammates of mine. Like Kenny in the Olympics and John with college and wrestling in the Olympics. And those guys, what happened there, Gene, was I was able to see how it was done. Those guys, while I was a sophomore going into my junior year in college, I got to see John Smith and Kenny Monday both win an Olympic gold medal.
Yeah.
And so to see that, it demystified the whole process. And it made me think, I can do that. David Mark Schultz, Johnny Johnson, that influence kind of created, my goals or my, that what I wanted to accomplish as a wrestler. And then John Smith and Kenny Monday, they brought it to fruition because they did it and I got to see it. And I thought, okay, so that's how it's done. And it really, I can't think of a better word than just it demystified what it is or what it takes to win at the highest level. And it turns out, man, it's kind of the same stuff that we do even before that and after. It's just it's a level of commitment. And
yeah, I mean, it says a lot about being an environment around the best people who are winning right now, so you can see how they train. You watch their lifestyle, and you say, okay, yeah, they're doing it. This is what they're doing. I could get it done also.
Yeah, but I mean, by birthright, Gene, I was living in Oklahoma. The time that I grew up, the Schultzes were at Oklahoma. The time that I went to college, graduated from high school, went to college, John Smith and Kenny Monday were right there. Man, and also just the coaches at Oklahoma State, Joe C., Bruce Burnett. Bruce was the assistant coach. He was our glue in the program. And so I feel really fortunate to have been around the guys that I've been around. I don't know if I hate to, I don't want to minimize that at all, man. Just my environment. Jeez.
Yeah, no, that's huge. And now your style was different than a lot of people, more unorthodox, more big moves, throws, right? There had to be a lot of naysayers out there saying, oh, you're not going to be able to do that at the highest level. That's Greco. That's not, you have to be able to shoot to win those, to beat those guys.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. I had a lot of naysayers. In fact, the Oklahoma State coach prior to Joe C. becoming the head coach, Joe C. became the head coach at Oklahoma State while I was still in high school. Like my junior year in high school, he became the new head coach at Oklahoma State. The previous coach, Tommy Chesbro, amazing coach, NWCA Coach of the Year, second in the country consistently behind Iowa. Because that was when Iowa was winning everything, Gene. I know you remember that. Or I think you do, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So, they were winning everything. Tommy Chesbro was right behind him, and John and Kenny both kind of liken him to having some of the best technical. He was one of the best technical coaches that they've been around. And so so Tommy Chesbro, while he was still coach, he didn't believe that I was going to make a good college wrestler. And so, geez, I'm just so glad that they changed up, and that Joe C. became the head coach right at the right time. Because maybe if Tommy Chesbro didn't believe I was going to make a good college wrestler, probably wouldn't have recruited me.
Right.
And so.
But you need to be very mentally strong to not listen to what other people were saying there. And I mean, how many times did you take a shot in the Olympics?
Hardly any.
Right. So now most people would say, so now people seeing that, like, this is more your style, they say, it's not going to happen. You'll never be the best in the world if you're not shooting like crazy.
Yes, exactly right. I can.
Yeah,
I can look at my series with Terry Brands. And when I first started competing against Terry and in the international circuit, I was shooting a lot. I was going to low singles. I'm a low single guy because of John Smith, but against him, we did the math. My coaches and I did the math on, I'm shooting X number of times and I score X number of times. And it was like, the ratio was really out of whack. You could say I shot 20 times and maybe scored 4. And so, and what was happening when I wrestled upper body with him, it was a little more even, and it was also in my sweet spot, in my wheelhouse.
Right. Yeah. And if you could get him to now, like, kind of, play with that fire, you could, you could get him into there. Right? You want to get yourself, I mean, that's really wrestling or any kind of war or battle. You want to get them where you're good and where they're not comfortable.
Yeah. 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 Understanding, there's the, understanding what the circumstances, who you're up against. I think it's just, sport intelligence. I like to say that I have a bit of that, and so just understanding who I'm wrestling, understanding myself, understanding my opponents, and then building a plan, and
Right.
getting comfortable enough with your plan to where you just know it's going to work, and convince yourself that it's going to work.
Mindset Monday is brought to you by our official sponsors, Eat Clean, bro. Make sure you order today, get them delivered right to your house. Check them out, and make sure you put in your discount code MINDSET. Right? That's big. And now talk about, what about some of the newer mindset struggles you see people? I mean, now with social media, I would think that's a big difference between, back when you were competing, when I was competing, versus now. These kids have a lot of information in their head, and maybe they see a lot of wrestling, but also their mind gets filled with a lot of garbage, and they're thinking like, well, hey, how's this going to look on social media after? And they know who they're competing against. They're seeing comments from, their friends, their opponents' parents. There's a lot of that now. Talk
Yeah,
about
a
that a
lot of
little.
information. Yeah, you're right. You know what, Gene? I don't delve too deep into it. I really need to, just on this social media thing. I rarely post. I do, with the NYCRTC, I'll post when I need to, but I'm not uh, I don't tackle it like some others. I just don't. So I don't know if I have a very good or educated enough opinion to speak to it, but I know this, and I think we can agree. The kids are getting a lot of information, whether it's positive or negative. And I mean, if you talk just outside of wrestling, the mental health issues because of social media, that are you know, everybody puts their best foot forward on social media. I don't put my my fat pics in there, right?
Right.
And so and then you get this image of somebody who's, well, you see them and they're at their best, and I'm sure that has an effect.
Yeah, yeah, and also knowing that when you're wrestling, people are going to be putting pictures up of you whether you win or lose. Someone hits you with a good
Yeah.
move, and then you're seeing a lot of these kids. They're seeing the comments of their opponent's family, or even their friends that they train with. They're liking pictures of them. So you have all this other garbage that's playing into your head. Like, what are people saying about me?
Yeah.
What are they saying about my opponent? So just it could throw you off your game. So we tell a lot of wrestlers, like, especially during the season, put that to the side as best as you can. It might be unrealistic to put it down completely, but try not to be involved in that, because it has nothing to do with wrestling.
No, you're right. You're right. It doesn't. And also it's just another man's opinion, and everybody's got one, and now they've got a keyboard to go on and express their opinion to everybody. And you're right. It's yeah, I'm really glad that I didn't, for multiple reasons. I'm really glad that I didn't grow up in this day and age. I think it's, in one aspect, I think it's amazing because it gives kids, it's a studier's game if you let it.
Right.
And it gives kids access to anything they want. They want to see a high crotch, you see it right now. And then see multiple versions. And then you just whatever you want to see, you have it at your fingertips in these phones, so I think in that aspect is good. But the social media piece on the other side of the, it's I'm sure a nightmare if you listen to it, and I would assume too that a lot of us are just naturally inclined to listen to it, and so to block it out, I think it's a chore.
A lot of times, and as Valentine and I, we, I guess, talk about Valentine too. Also, is, thank God he's doing better, after his heart attack. But he was saying that he's, a lot of the wrestlers with the toughest exterior, maybe the most talented, a lot of them are the most fragile internally. And that's not it, it's not necessarily a personal defect. Different kids are born with different things or had different traumas in their life. It's hard, right? Like, so it's, the kids having someone to talk to and actually addressing their mindset and their emotions rather than just get tough and push through.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, there's an aspect of that. We all need to, hey, suck it up and get tough and push through. And, it's not all about your emotions, fine. But it can't be never talk about your emotions. Don't dig deeper in what's going on because, anxiety is real and you need to help people.
Yes, I completely agree. I completely agree. Yeah, there are times when you tough it out, but it's
Yes.
not, I don't know if you want to put a percentage on, or if out of every 10 times, maybe half of that, but yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, you might have to dig a little bit deeper. And with confidence and motivation, it's not like they remain stable. It's not like you get to a point and now I'm good. There's ups and downs.
Yes.
Bad day at school, you get broken up with, get made fun of, lose a match, you have to cut 10 pounds,
Yeah.
go up and down.
Yeah. You're right. You're right. Yeah. The motivation piece, just when you're just going back to what you asked me originally, I really feel like, I was really highly motivated by competing to compete. And I think that's kind of that. I think that's a rare characteristic in terms of like not having anxiety built up over wrestling. Don't get me wrong. I go to tournaments. I remember going to tournaments when I was a kid, and look, I did not want to wrestle the toughest guy in my bracket. And I, it always really killed me when kids would say that, like, I want to wrestle him. Well, I didn't. I wanted to win. I wanted to win. And if I had to wrestle that guy, okay, so I'll figure it out. But man, I had a really high motivation for competing. I just loved it. And I love the challenge of a tough tournament and going home and bringing my bracket home and putting it up on my wall. And it was such an amazing, feeling of success. It was comforting to, winning early. I think I got the bug, and carried it through. So I would say too that I do believe that I was, really highly motivated, you know?
Yeah, and that goes to, doing what you love. If it's something you love to do, you're more likely to do it and you're more likely to ascend to the highest levels. But you can't just do it just because you're being made to do it or because you think it's something you should be doing. Right? I would assume that like it was deep down inside of you. Like, yes, of course
Yeah.
it was nice to get the brackets and to win, but you loved wrestling and you loved the journey and what's part of that. That's not everyone.
Yeah, it's not everyone. You're right. It's not everyone. I look back and I remember what I see a lot now with kids. Even just the guys that I've been training, and but with kids mainly. I remember going to tournaments and like say I didn't I got taken down in the second match of the second round or the second match of a tournament, but I went on and won. Okay. I had a short memory for that takedown that the guy took me down on, and had more of a focus on the fact that I won the tournament. And I think a lot of kids that are perfectionists, the kind of a maladaptive take on that getting taken down in the second round, and that's their focus. They can't enjoy their win. They won the tournament, but they got taken down in the second round of the tournament, and that's what they think about. And I do think that like competing and winning at the highest level, man, you're going to lose, you're going to fail, you're going to get taken down. And so to have a place low value on those moments, I think that's important. I think it's really important. And I do recall that, again, I just said I was like overly optimistic, right? To a fault. And so I do think that those, being, placing a low value on my failures really benefited me just throughout my career.
The time is now to take your mindset to the next level with Wrestling Mindset. Make sure you go to our website, wrestlingmindset.com, and sign up for your free trial session today.
Don't wait any longer. You want the mental edge right now. When you sign up for the free trial session, you're also going to get a copy of our free ebook, Building the Predator Mindset. This book has helped thousands of people build confidence, relax under pressure, get motivated, and build mental toughness in wrestling, school, and life.
Yeah, and it's one heck of a balance because you place low value on the failure while at the same time you're still making it meaningful enough where I'm looking to improve. Like you're not looking at it through rose-colored glass. Like I still need to get better, but I'm not what a lot like because my master's degree was in perfectionism and anxiety in wrestlers. So I see
Oh,
exactly what
wow,
you're saying.
wow, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the wrestlers who are more perfectionistic, everything had to be just right, as you'd imagine. They were more
Yeah,
nervous. They
yeah,
So, but because I think what a lot of times happens is a wrestler makes a mistake and then they take an extra step and they make an identity meaning about themselves. I got taken down, therefore that means I'm getting worse. Or therefore this person's catching up. They take an extra step. It's not
right,
just
right,
well, I
right.
got taken down and I got
Mm,
taken down because my head was down and I need to make these little points. It's because I got taken down, therefore it means this, and you make a mountain out of a
yes,
molehill.
yes, yeah, that getting taken down in the second round becomes this thing, and, you can't move on. It actually makes the rest of your tournament less of what it could have been, and yeah, I mean, what is it? It's a positive perfectionism, positive, maladaptive, is that right?
Yeah, like you're like having high personal standards, having a high level of organization. Those are generally positive aspects
Positive
of
and
perfection.
maladaptive would be
Yeah.
the flip
And then
side of it?
the negative would be being overly concerned with your
Yeah,
mistakes or having doubts about your
yeah,
actions. That would be like more of the negative side of it. So it's a double-edged sword. I was just talking to a dad whose kid was a perfectionist today. And I said, yeah, it's a double-edged sword. Like anything else, you got to find a way to make it work
mm,
for you, not against you. Like ADD, right? Like to my own self be true. I got to find a way. There's a lot of benefits it gives me. It could hurt me if I don't control it, right?
yeah, yeah, you're right.
So yeah, no, that's a cool thing about the sport of wrestling that there's many different ways to succeed, and just like no two fingers on your hand are the same, you have to find what works for you, and it's not always cookie cutter. Like yeah, the principles are the same, the fundamentals are the same, but how you get there could be different.
Yeah, yeah, what, just being, flexible with your methods, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I guess we do. I said we are going to give Valentine a shout out for his book that just came out about coaching.
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited to read it, I mean, Gene, you know that I spent a lot of time with Valentine being, one of the coaches at the NYCRTC. I was really sad to see him go. I know he's probably much happier back in California. Just a personal life side, he just hated not being able to get out on a surfboard, up here in New Jersey, And so I know he missed Cal. He talked about it all the time. He missed California, But I hated to see him go because he was a really he had a really strong influence on my wrestling. He's Soviet. He's from the Soviet era of wrestling, and so it was a really different take on the littlest of things. Technique, of course, but just even philosophy. And so I really enjoyed being around him, and I'm looking forward to reading the book. I'll be curious how much he imparted in my life, uh, just personally, versus what he put in the book. I'm excited to read it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he said when he would show a lot of the kids the moves, like the wrestlers, and we're not kids. I mean, these are men who
Yeah.
are coming in now and training, and he would try to explain to them that the theory behind what, not just the move, but why to do it. And he said a lot of times the kids wouldn't get it, and then Kendall was saying, "Oh, I get it. That makes perfect sense." And I said, it sounded like he wished that, hey, man, if he could have coached you back in the day, although it's hard to believe, what more could have you done, other than walked on water.
It's funny. That's what we joke about it, because man, because I would say something like, "Man, if you'd only been my coach, man, I could have been somebody."
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, great stuff, Kent. And what else is going on the upcoming year? New York Regional Training Center, Edge Hoboken. What can we expect, and how do we get more people over there? Where do they go to follow you? I know
Yeah,
Instagram.
the Instagram, we're at NYCRTC. On Facebook, which is kind of our older crowd, right?
Yeah.
We're at it's a New York City Regional Training Center, and then
Yep.
we don't do a whole lot on Twitter. We used to, but very very little X now. I guess it's not X, but yeah, follow us on Instagram. You know, it's really we're really looking forward to this quad. You know, we've got Sebastian Rivera that's competing for us. You know, for Puerto Rico, and is an assistant coach at Columbia while he's competing, you know, as an athlete for the NYCRTC. We've got Bo Bartlett here. Bo Bartlett, oh, amazing kid. Love him. And so, you know, we've got him coming up to competing in these ranks for this next quad. And so, it's, you know, for those things, I'm excited. I'm excited.
Oh yeah, and it seems like, you see pictures posted up now. These are some of the, you see some of the best people from the whole world coming in there. You see some of the Japanese, some people from these former Soviet countries. They're coming in. They're training there. Some of the better college guys coming in. So
Yeah.
it's an exciting place.
Yeah, it is. You know, in the women's program is Emma Randall has I love I love Emma Randall, man. I'm so glad that she is in my orbit or I'm in her orbit. She's amazing. And you know, the Columbia Women's Wrestling Club is exploding. We're right on the cusp of getting varsity status at Columbia. I hope that is something that comes to fruition really soon. But man, yeah, I love it over here. Donnie Pritzoff, the head coach of Columbia, with Buxton, Sebastian. It's great. Billy Janzer is our fourth assistant, and so we got a very cool, fun crew, man. I like it.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's a great thing. We're excited to come out, and we certainly strongly recommend everyone to come over, bring your kids, check out the camp, everything going on. Next week over there, we'll be posting out some more information over on our end.
Okay.
Make sure you get over to New York Regional Training Center as much as you can. We also thank our sponsors: Eat Clean Bro, Champion Nutrition, Champion Athlete. So we always say, being the total package: spirit, mind, body. That's how you eat. That's how you sleep. That's your mindset. The whole shebang. Wrestling's a holistic sport.